Hello there, Algebra 1A, and welcome to Lesson 2.6. Today we're going to be dividing real numbers and focusing on something known as the multiplicative inverse. What this inverse is, and we'll just jump right to the property here, is basically saying that the inverse property of multiplication takes the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of a non-zero number and its multiplicative inverse is 1. Well, first off, what in the world is a reciprocal? A reciprocal is just a number flipped over itself. So let me give you some examples. For example, the number 5 has a reciprocal of 1 over 5. The number 4, negative 4, we'll say, has a reciprocal of 1 over negative 4. So you can kind of see the pattern. What can be tricky is 1 actually has a reciprocal of 1, okay? And what's happening here is, say, something like 3/4 has a reciprocal of 4/3. So if you think of 5 as 5 over 1, and negative 4 is negative 4 over 1, and 1 is negative 1 over 1, the reciprocal simply flips each part. Okay, so that is what is going on. Basically, in algebra, a times its reciprocal is equal to 1, so long as a does not equal 0. 0 has no reciprocal. So for example, if we were to take 4 times 1/4, and I'll demonstrate in the calculator, 4 times 1/4, we're going to get 1, and what that means is that's the inverse. So that's a little check on the inverse. So, examples here. The multiplicative inverse and reason. As for the reason, we know it's just the reciprocal. But, basically 9, its multiplicative inverse is 1 over 9. Okay? The reason is, well, if we take 9 times 1 over 9, you should get 1. And again, checking, 9 times 1 over 9, we get 1. So great. Negative 5/6. Multiplicative inverse is still negative, and it's going to be 6/5. It does not matter if the negative's up top or if it's down below, as long as you have it in one of these spots. And again, we find that negative 5/6 times negative 6/5 is equal to 1. So those are multiplicative inverses. Okay, little checkpoint here. If you want to pause and find those, find the multiplicative inverse. Well, multiplicative inverse is 3/2, negative 3/2, and of 3 is going to be 1/3. So that should hopefully be pretty easy. Now, division. Really what division is, it's multiplying by the reciprocal. So I'd like you to write that. Division is really reciprocal multiplication. So what I mean by that is to divide a number by a non-zero number, multiply by the multiplicative inverse. So multiply, say, A by the multiplicative inverse of B. For example, if we want to take A divided by B, it's really the same thing as A times 1 over B. Again, B just can't be 0. So 7 divided by 3 is really 7 times 1/3. Okay, that is the relationship. And students struggle with that idea, but it is important when solving equations. Now, you can't divide by 0, so the sign of a quotient. Quotient of two real numbers with the same sign is positive. What we mean by that, if you take negative 3 over negative 2, you're going to get 3/2, positive. Or if you take 3 over 2, you still have a positive number. Quotient of two real numbers with different signs is negative. Quotient of 0 and any non-zero number is 0. Anything divided by 0 is 0. So let's check out some examples. Dividing real numbers. So remember, the idea is 25 divided by 5 is really 25 times 1/5. And while you could do 25 divided by 5 in your calculator, you can also do 25 times 1/5 and get 5. 40 divided by 2/3 is really 40 times 3/2. So see what I did? I used the reciprocal. Negative 40 times 3/2 is negative 60. Okay, so be careful with how to rewrite multiplication. So some checkpoints. Find the quotient. I'd like you to practice writing in terms of what it is multiplication. So it's 1/2, that stays the same, times the reciprocal, 4/3. Now that is going to be 4/6 or 2/3. The next one, don't let the parentheses scare you. It's just 16 times negative 4/1. Well, negative 16 times 4/1, or 16 times negative 4/1, sorry, is negative 64. Okay, so that's all that is going on there. Now, what gets trickier is simplifying some of these expressions. Okay, when we have a double fraction like this, you have to multiply and divide by both things. So I like to call it the heart method. We have to divide 48y by 8, but also 32 by 8. So what's happening is we're taking this numerator, the top part, and we're dividing it by 8, the bottom part. Really, we know dividing by 8 is the same thing as multiplying by 1/8. And then we have our distributive property. So multiplying each of those is really 48 divided by 1/8, or times 1/8, negative 32 times 1/8. And if we do that, 48 times 1/8, we get 6y, and negative 32 times 1/8, we get negative 4. If you were to do this just with division, that's okay. You can always just divide using the calculator. That is fine. So you can use the calculator to divide. But the key thing is make sure you do both parts. 48y over 8 and negative 32 over 8. Okay, so I'll show you another method to do this. Okay, 3a over 2. You can just write that as 3a divided by 2. You have to do the other part. 4 divided by 2. Well, 4 divided by 2 is there. And then simplify anything if you can. So this is really just 3/2 a plus 4 divided by 2 is 2. Okay? If you want to try out this last one, the method 12x divided by 4. Well, 12x divided by 4 is really 3x. Don't forget about the other half. Negative 8 divided by 4 is really minus 2. So that is the idea with those. Good stuff, guys. Hopefully division makes a little more sense now. And your homework, check out the 2.6. If there's any altercations, I'll let you know in the assignment. But good luck, guys, and good stuff.